We all know Rutgers. Everybody knows the R. Drive around New Jersey, you see the R everywhere. It's the main school brand. It was mostly used for sports and merchandising for many, many years. That's now changing. But when Rutgers Medical School and the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, which is UMDNJ, hard to remember or say, when they merged in 2013, there were folks that were on the UMDNJ side that didn't really feel like they were Rutgers. They were a little lost. They didn't want to be Rutgers. The schools had merged, and it wasn't really a brand that they understood. So there was a little bit of brand chaos. And when you add that on top of the issue of Rutgers has lots of different brands, different uses of color and identity system, which they've actually changed very recently, well, not when we were starting this work. There was a need for a unifying brand, a brand that can represent all of the constituents of the medical school. During COVID, most of the Rutgers Medical School marketing team, some were on maternity leave, some were out for COVID, others left, others got moved around the organization. And Walter Douglas Jr., who was the chief operating officer of the medical school, had an opportunity he came to us through relationships that we've had with him and Rutgers and said, look, I need help reinvigorating and reimagining what marketing is for the medical school. And the type of work that you all do is exactly what I need to help figure that out from a process point of view, a creative point of view, from a strategy point of view. So we had a really great opportunity to work with him to now be his outsource marketing partner for a while until things settled after COVID. One of the most important things that he had said to Lisa and I when we were first going through our assessment was, there's an amazing amount of hidden stories within Rutgers Medical School. We need to be able to search out those stories and tell those stories better and have a vehicle and a plan and a strategy in order to execute upon those stories. So that was the reimagine part of what he tasked us to do. And then Lisa's going to talk a little bit about the other parts of it.
So we were brought in to redevelop the whole marketing function. With so many people gone, it was really a chance, the perfect time to do things differently. We wanted to fix the relationship with the various stakeholders within the school, drive innovation, and then use marketing to tell the bigger story. So it was the perfect time to do things differently, to drive better engagement internally with the school and tell a story. And so we were brought in to find and fill the gaps, assess the opportunities, and then get the work going to rebuild the marketing function from the ground up. And that was the reinvigorate part of our work.
Yep. So tuition these days with higher education is no longer able to pay the bills. All of higher education is suffering, trying to find new revenues. Costs have gone up. People are starting to question the reality of, is my education worth it, higher education? So one of the things that we were tasked with, which is where we really accelerate, we could do the marketing and branding stuff easily. We do that all day long, no problem. Anybody out there, you need us, we got it. But really where we excel is coming up with ideas for revenue generation. Our focus is on branding, marketing, and sales and technology to actually drive innovation. So once we got that branding work set up, we got processes flowing, we're starting to communicate better with other entities within Rutgers Medical School that needed to generate content. All of that was going very well. We then pivoted and started focusing our area on 3 big ideas that we can come up with that would drive revenue and also bring everybody together via branding. So we're gonna talk about that in a little bit, but the goal was build more brand equity, bring everyone together, and drive more revenue opportunities.
So let's go for a quick tour of the work that we did and looking at what we did with the marketing department. So one of the things we saw right away is it was really functioning like a short order cook. People would send in a request, somebody would make a flyer or make a poster or make something, and it was all just disjointed one-off communications. What we wanted to do was to better serve the people who were making the communications requests, but then use each individual communication to weave in a bigger story around the specific themes of that were core to the brand of being a leader in public health, being a center of innovation where ideas go from the bench to the bedside to really impact lives, and then being a place where truly exceptional people could thrive.
So what did we do? We did a lot in a short amount of time. which is always part of the problem is everybody needs that done quickly. So how do we take quickly from what we learned in the assessment to putting it in action? We started with updating and modernizing the process of curation of content and also of content creation in general. And in some cases, that meant feet on the street, going out and talking to people, being involved, videotaping that. That's actually live, great content these days. Part of it was also to create a consistent brand identity, a consistent look and feel. And although Rutgers out of New Brunswick has corporate standards for the brand, when it starts to getting used on the local level of a school like the Rutgers Medical School, the brand wasn't being used consistently. And for social media purposes, we wanted people to be able to be scrolling and right away they would know that it's a Rutgers Medical School post. So we're going to kind of take you through a couple of examples of some of the real work that we did, just to be a good, sort of pillar for all of the things that we put in place. In this one, we're going to talk about Bloomberg's Philanthropies for Global Mayors Challenge. It was in Paterson, New Jersey. It was a $1 million award of a way to start going forward into the community with a lot of things that were core to Rutgers. And what we did was a comprehensive campaign that included everything from public relations, web, social media posts, on-campus CCTV, where we were able to push a lot of our content out internally for all the faculty and everyone at Rutgers, and even in campus signage. This award was actually tied to some of the bigger things that Lisa was talking about the whole school story. How do you take one thing that's happening here and expand that across everything that the school represents? And being about the center of excellence and a place for truly exceptional people, that came out in that work. Second example, World AIDS Day used to be a random social media post, just like everything else. Hey, there's an event going on, let's post it on social media. What we did was say, no, let's really dig deeper into each one of these events and things that you're doing and that you're partaking in. And we turned it into a much larger multimedia omni-channel initiative. The goal of that was to promote a whole bunch of activities across the school and different folks that were part of the process. Yes, we did press releases. We promoted on-campus events, naturally. There were web articles that actually spotlighted the faculty and the students that were doing work to help patients and seek treatment. And then lastly, social media posts that highlighted and connect with World AIDS Day. So from everywhere you looked within that time period of World AIDS Day, you would see a post, research, what's going on around that, how the school's supporting that. That was critical. That became much more of a campaign than a one-off post.
Then we looked at rebuilding processes. So how do we get people to get requests to us faster, to give us more information so that we could take a simple idea and build it into something that we could weave into the bigger story? We looked at how we could automate functions because it's a small team that needed to do more with less money. And then we worked with the staff, especially the new staff that was coming on and the returning staff, to train them and mentor them in what we had built so that they could build themselves on this foundation and keep building that brand.
Yeah, actually, anecdotally speaking, I remember that one of the challenges, why there was a rift between the marketing team, who meant well, but they were understaffed, and everyone across the medical school, which there's many different departments. One of the things that we heard were there was strife between them. Why? Hey, I need a flyer. I need a poster. I need a rack card. I need a presentation, and I need it like next week. But they didn't give enough insight into thinking about what should we say? What should we do? So we started creating best practices around when you come to us for a request, the marketing department, you need to think about these things first. And we always talk about features, advantages, benefits in marketing. You need to think about that upon your request and answer certain questions before we accept your request and do the work. And then starting to have conversations versus emails was really important to see what initiatives that they had.
Right. So a lot of what they did was, this is what we want to say. And we said, well, what does your audience want to hear? And what do we need to tell them about the brand?
Yep. So marketing, function, processes, a creative look and feel, consistent branding, we locked that down fairly quickly. Then we put a ton of energy into how can we create new revenue? What are some of the gaps and opportunities we saw within the medical school? So we conducted a rapid audit, rapid meaning within weeks, of brand opportunities. What things can we come up with that would develop, again, some of those core things I talked about, which is more brand equity, bringing people together, and more money. So the first concept was we created a brand called RMed. It's a lifestyle brand. It was going to represent all people within Rutgers, potentially medical school, which again was with the UMDNJ, as well as potentially Rutgers Health Group, which is a separate group with RWJ in their relationship. So what we were doing there was coming up with a concept of a new brand that was fun. It was interesting. It said who you are right away. If you were part of the Rutgers Medical School, you would end up having an RMed bumper sticker, RMed shirt. It kind of gave you your own brand within the Rutgers system so that you were proud and you felt that you were acknowledged. So first thing was RMed brand, creating a whole new look for that, and then how would that apply to other things? So this ended up applying to all different merchandising from umbrellas to bumper stickers to shirts. And what we did was we started writing cool, fun little sayings. So now they had a visual and a verbal vocabulary that kind of became this lifestyle brand. So one of the things you'll see on the screen in a second, need coffee stat with a Rutgers logo, right? These are things that started becoming a vocabulary that they can use across many more things to do promotions. So the idea was to create a rallying point for the school spirit, to bring pride to faculty, staff, and students, but also something that they would want to buy, they would use, they would own, and they felt represented. And as we all know, merchandising sells. Rutgers sells a lots of core merchandising. Now the Rutgers RMed brand and the medical school would actually have a whole new revenue stream, and all of that would be turnkey and how we set it up with them. So big ideas about pride and making people feel better. How do we get more aspirational values to the brand? You're not just at Rutgers, the known school in New Jersey, but we want people to think about community. We want people to think about this brand internally. And then clearly, we want to drive revenue to achieve goals. So, Rutgers is not trying to be a Google or a billion-dollar company. Rutgers is trying to sustain itself, which is why they need new revenue, but also to do new things, better things, more research, and to power the mission. That's exactly what new revenue opportunities do for them, and it allows them to have more hands-on, build a bit larger department to be able to do more.
That was idea one, is to create a rallying point and a brand that people could connect to. The second thing we did was to take a tired old print publication called The Pulse and modernize it and use it as a platform for better connecting with alumni and staff and ideally donors. And we took this magazine, redesigned it from the logo to the interior, made it a much more modern magazine, and then we made it a multimedia magazine so that you could click to videos or click to infographics and to see the pages come alive digitally. And so it wasn't just a print magazine anymore. The print was part of it, but it was actually just the jumping off point for a bigger digital presentation that would tell stories in a very rich way that would connect with the audience in a very emotional way and be a platform for revenue. And then the third thing we did was, well, is it just a magazine? What if it was a TV show? So we turned the Pulse into a show that could be broadcast on local television, could be broadcast on the local Rutgers CCTV on the campus, and that it would also create video content that could be reused and repurposed across social media. And so we took ideas and turned them into a video show and really brought them to life in a very vivid way through that show and dramatically expanded the reach as well as the revenue opportunities for the institution.
And so to add to that, one of the things was the show. Imagine the show being lots of content, because that's what it is, whether it's live, taped, it doesn't matter. Show represents content. Through the show, we're pushing merchandise. We're also linking the show to the magazine. Within the magazine was linked to social media, back to the show. So we created an ecosystem that allowed us to then go and find commercial sponsors and partners, building marketplaces, and having revenue and transactions happening just around content. Now that content also supported community. We have feet on the street, doing interviews on the street. So all of that is community-based, and at the back of it, all of that was turnkey revenue coming in that was not there before. So critical part of this, we're always looking to come up with ideas that, yes, it helps community, it's on brand, it's on target to the mission, but it's also creating dollars. And some of those dollars pay for itself in the first place. I always say to a client when they bring us in, yes, you're going to pay a fair price for our services, but we're going to find ways to come up with ideas that it pays for ourselves. So you don't have to pay us anymore. That was one of the things here. How do we come up with ideas where this now supplements your whole marketing department, your outsourced marketing department, and allows you to do a lot more things with your money? So it was a great
Right.
part of the three big ideas.
Right. And all those individual stories that the marketing department used to get as one offs now could be knit into this bigger ecosystem, into creating merchandise, into creating stories for the magazine, and into creating video content on the show.
Yeah, imagine that there was great research being done by faculty member X. That becomes an article, that becomes a video, that becomes a podcast. So we start to think of it's not linear anymore. All of the touch points within your ecosystem now start to come to life. That feeds a show, that feeds a magazine. So now you have real rich content. And then obviously from a marketing point of view, it feeds social media as far as content goes as well. And we curate all that and we push all of that out there. So the culmination of the work that we were doing within this project was multifaceted. So one was clearly put in the right processes and steps overall for Rutgers marketing team. And then when people started coming back after COVID and then they reorganized the department, they had some tools and some understanding of strategy and where to put that. The part about all the revenue generation, you turn a magazine potentially that was a cost center, it becomes a profit center with advertisers. But then some of those advertisers are interested in more and they want to become corporate sponsors. They want to become partners in the community and do other things with you. Similar thing with the show. Have certain show that are sponsored by certain folks. They now contribute content, and all the while you're getting paid for this. So you're subsidizing the cost, you're expanding your mission, and it's all driving revenue, and it's making the brand a lot stronger and building much more equity.
So it was all about building that strong brand, putting in a process, generating new revenue, all to achieve the goals and to power their mission.